Welcome to Women and the Businesses They Own, the podcast where we slow down and listen to the stories behind the women building meaningful businesses and lives with intention. I'm your host, Sherry Hooper, and today's conversation is one I'm really looking forward to. I'm joined by Teresa, owner of Boichot Insurance Agency, where she helps individuals and families navigate health and Medicare insurance. Teresa is a business owner, a leader, a mother, a wife, and someone who shows up for people during some of the most important and vulnerable seasons. While I work with her professionally and I trust her personally, today's conversation is about her journey, her resilience, and the businesses she's built along the way. Teresa, before we dive in, can you tell us all a little bit more about yourself personally and professionally?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sherry. First of all, thank you for letting me do this with you. I mean, I grew up in a construction business. My family had a concrete business. And so I had to grow up pretty young. And I didn't really realize all the things I learned when I was growing up. Went off to college, got my master's in engineering, actually. And I worked for 20 years in corporate America, mostly in executive management, um, in all facets. Both my husband and I worked. And so we traveled and moved 9 times for work. And so at different times, in the beginning he followed me and then I followed him. And there was different times in our career where I had to reinvent myself, find, because there wasn't necessarily a job in that area that fit my skill set. So I had to figure it out, and that's the fun part. I mean, figuring out what you want in your life and then making it. So here I was in an executive job 10 years ago, and it just wasn't working anymore. It was a toll on my body. Physically, I was missing out on family, and it was just time for me to try again to go out and be an entrepreneur, since I knew we weren't moving again and until I retired. So that's when I started Boichot Insurance Agency in 2018, and I will never go back to corporate America again.
Yeah, once you get a chance of having your own business, I mean, there's pros and cons in both, of course, but
Totally.
the flexibility or the freedom, I mean, even if you
Yes.
choose to work more hours than you would for somebody else, it's your business and what you put into it, right? Whether it's Saturdays and Sundays or 12-hour days, it's for you.
It's for you and not someone
Feels
else.
good.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let me go back. So you have a master's in engineering.
I do.
Oh
Yes,
my
I do.
goodness, where did you go to school?
I got my bachelor's at Michigan Tech and my master's at Bradley while I was working for Caterpillar full time. So
Oh my
I
gosh.
I thought that's where I was going to be, and my career's taken me in so many different directions. I've done operations and marketing and finance and engineering, upper management, a little bit of everything. So I think that allows me to be a different type of business owner and agent than most agents, because I have that business side and I can relate to anybody. I can relate to a president of a large company, and I can relate to someone that is, on a very low fixed income. So um, it really does help in what I do today.
Yeah, I can imagine that it would because if you're if you're you have this education from different colleges, but it sounds like you got your master's, but you must have been a mom at that point.
Yes, I got it right before I was a mom. So
Oh, right before. Okay.
I got my master's, and my kids are 20 and 22. And
Wow.
so they've seen me at different stages, and I tried to always instill hard work and good work ethic in them. And they saw my husband and I work in different facets. A lot of times, obviously, kids don't understand what you do, and they just see you leave and come home. And so they don't really know what you do. But they've also seen me grow businesses over the years, and that was uh, being an entrepreneur is very different. It's very hard and very different. You don't have a paycheck always necessarily. So when the first time I had my first business, they were like 3 and 5. So they've seen me at different stages of their life.
Yeah, so you said you moved 9 times. So
Mhm.
give me a list of cities and then what was your favorite one?
That's hard. Yeah, Caterpillar used to move people every 3 to 5 years because they wanted them to be well-rounded as they moved up into upper management. They
Okay.
don't do that anymore, but we'll see. We moved all over. I started in Peoria, Illinois, and then I went to Decatur, a lot of Illinois, but Decatur, Illinois, back to I was in Metamora, then Peoria, then Chicago, then Georgia.
Oh,
We were in Georgia for 6 years, and then we came back to Illinois, and then now we're in Michigan. So I
yeah.
think my favorite, I think, was Georgia because not because it was in the South, and but I had such an awesome neighborhood friends.
Oh, yeah,
Some
sure.
places you move, you just you can't you don't know what the neighborhood's like when you move into a neighborhood. And so that neighborhood was fun. We really did have a lot of we had, we would go out and have bonfires on Friday nights and
Yeah.
whatever. It was a lot of fun. We were there 6 years. But every place was a little different. And I think it's made my kids more adaptable because they had to meet new friends and learn how to communicate and understand like sports, politics, and all that kind
Right.
of stuff. So,
In all of these different areas. So did they think down in Georgia, did they think you guys talked funny or do they talk funny?
yeah, they definitely thought we did.
Right. Exactly. Well, it sounds great that all of that time that you and your husband supported each other, you were able to move all of those times. That's a lot of moving and packing and unpacking and hanging
It is.
pictures and just like I don't know, it just there's a lot that goes into moving all the time. And I'm sure the kids probably didn't want to move every time, especially when you get settled in something like Georgia and you're there 6 years. But in the end, maybe they even still have relationships today. I
They
mean,
do. They
media
do.
has really helped our kids in the positive.
Yeah.
They have friends everywhere. So,
Yeah.
well, that's incredible. Well, you spend your days helping people navigate some of the most confusing and emotional decisions around health and Medicare. That's what you're currently doing under your Boy Show agency. So, but very few people stop to ask about your story. So, what did you find how did you find your way into this workplace? Because you've moved so many times, you've had different businesses, you've worked. How did you end up with Medicare?
Yes, that's a great question. If you would have asked me 10, 15 years ago, I would have never saw myself where I am right now. I mean, I was running really large businesses, director, vice president of the last company was $1 billion company, and I was a director. And so I thought that was going to be my career or some facet of some company until I retired. And um, I'll talk about my accident a little bit later, but I was in a very large accident, and uh, the stress level that comes with that level of job is you're on 7 days a week, you're responsible for thousands of people, and there's a high level of stress, and that stress was taxing on my body. And I was it was getting to the point where I couldn't function at like I would give my body to my job, and then when I got home, I was just in so much pain I just couldn't do anything. And so um it was, and there was some things in the job, and we can talk about that as females, but it was time for me to look for something else. And my friends in Georgia who first introduced me to this business had been wanting me to do this since I left. And I was like, I'm not going to be in insurance. I have a great career, but this was a good turning point in my career where I was like, okay, I'll try. And if it doesn't work, I can always get another job. And thank God it did. But it was hard because I left a very high paying job and our family relied on my income to be able to do the stuff we did. And so I really had to work really hard to grow my business the first 2 years, at least to be able to replace my income at some level.
Yeah.
So that our family, I mean, we were okay, we just cut back, but
Yeah.
um you just have to work really hard so that you can replace that income at some level.
Yeah, so a little bit of this comes from necessity when obviously you had to find a new a new business, maybe. I mean, you could have gone back to work for somebody else, maybe with a lesser role, a little less stress, but you ultimately decided, let's do this again. Now that some people would call that stressful, Tressa.
Well, but I also knew that at some point, if I didn't, at some point I'm going to have to retire because of my body. And so I wanted something that was residual income that would allow me. I love helping people, and I could help people because I've navigated my own health insurance journey. I could help people, and I think I'm really understand what they're going through more than a lot of people because I've gone through it myself. I mean, I'm in pain every day. So when they're talking about things, I can motivate them or understand or be compassionate about what's going on.
Well, I think this is just a great segue. If you don't mind, why don't you share with us a little bit more about the accident? Because I do see the connection. I mean, I don't know. I can't wait for you to share the accident piece, but I can definitely see the connection of you having to make your way through this healthcare system. And as you know, I always think it takes an advocate. I don't know if you were a strong advocate for yourself. So maybe you can
Yeah.
even share, did you have an advocate, your spouse, a parent, or okay, go for it. I'm good.
No, no, I had to do it all myself. And it's hard when you're going through it and you're in pain and they're talking about you and then also trying to fight for the medical bills and who to go to and what to do. And it was hard. So when my daughter was 1 year old, I was recruiting for Caterpillar and I'd worked all day. I interviewed 15 people. And so I was going to dinner. And after dinner, I met up with some girlfriends and we were on the sidewalk and a drunk driver hit me while I was walking. She drove up on a guardrail that was protecting the sidewalk. And so her steel bumper hit my head and I flew 30 feet. And I got lucky. I mean, there was a reason God had a plan because I went straight. If I would have went right or left, I would have died. So I went straight on the sidewalk and landed. And uh, I don't remember being hit or flying or landing, but as soon as I landed, I remember because everybody was screaming and whatever. I got up, and when the cops came, they put me in a head brace, whatever, and took me there. And because I was in really good shape, I was a college athlete, and I had been continuing to work out and things. And she hit me from behind, so I wasn't tense, so I didn't break anything. But it took a long time to figure out really what was wrong. So I fast forward a couple years, I'd been to 50 plus doctors because the doctor said, if you want a baby, first of all, you need to get pregnant right now because I was bleeding. And they're like, otherwise, we don't know if you damaged your internal organs. And so that was difficult because I did get pregnant because I wanted one more, but it was a very difficult pregnancy because I was in so much pain and everything was messed up and they didn't know what was wrong and the PT didn't want to totally touch my body a lot because I was pregnant back then. Things were just different with women. So um I fast forward 5 years plus or minus, and I moved to Georgia, and I Mayo Clinic's in Florida. So my mom finally said, after doctors kept saying take some Tylenol, nothing's on the X-ray, it's just in your head. I
Okay.
was like, I couldn't walk down the block. I couldn't hold my kid. I couldn't give him a bath. I couldn't vacuum. And I was a college athlete. Like I couldn't walk down the block. And I'm like, okay, I'm not giving up because this isn't there's something going on, something wrong. And so I did go to Mayo Clinic. And back then the technology wasn't as good as it is today. Let's put it that way. So they did know that I had nerve damage. And they basically told me that the ligaments in your hips that when you have a baby they kind of they stretch but they go back. Well, they said mine were permanently stretched out. And over the years and they said we could fuse your spine, but that's permanent. And there was only so much they could do for me. So I went back and he's like, I could put you on, after a couple visits he could put me on disability, but I wasn't mentally ready to go on disability yet.
Right.
And so I kind of just pushed for 20 plus years. It wasn't till like 3 years ago, I finally found a doctor here that figured out what was really, I mean, my nerves are permanently damaged, but the labrum in my hip had been torn for 22 years. And
Oh,
the MRIs, I had done so many MRIs and every test and nerve test. But the technology to recognize a labrum tear didn't come around till about 5 years ago. So all those MRIs, they couldn't see that my labrum was torn. And so by the time they went in, it was shredded. And they put a couple brackets on my hip to try to sew it up. I mean, but it was so bad it didn't work, right? So they went back in and tried a second time and it didn't work. So I went back to Mayo and they basically said, well, yeah, your neck and back are messed up, but we can't do anything, and my knee, but I can't do anything till they fix my hips. But they don't want to do a third surgery on my hips because they don't know if it's going to work. And so at this point, I'll go back when I can't walk.
Oh
Um,
my
or
gosh.
and so it's okay because I keep myself healthy and I know my limits. And that was the hardest part is trying to learn my new normal. Like I
Yeah.
can't dance. Like I love to dance. I love to play sports, but my normal changed because a lot of those things I couldn't do anymore. So in raising kids after the accident, like they didn't always understand. I mean, they were kids, right? They
Sure.
didn't
Yeah.
understand why couldn't mom throw a softball or why couldn't she dance with me in the living room or whatever. So um, it was just a transition and it was very hard for quite a while. But now I can help people with everything I'm going through and have gone through. And there was no advocate for health insurance. Like I would fight with them. We'd put bills on credit cards and then, fight with them about trying to get it paid for. Cause see, I actually had my health insurance and I had workers' comp, but neither would pay for a long
Oh,
time.
oh,
So anyways, that's kind of what happened. And it, I've just figured out how to navigate life with what I have. So
yeah. Well, I mean, that's a long time. And you're still smiling. I mean, you did have to do a lot of things. You couldn't participate in the mommy, come play with me, mommy, come swim with
mm-mm,
me, all of these
mm-mm.
things that would be really challenging. Now, I will say the fun part of your kids are the adults now. And they're adults a whole lot longer than they are kids. So you get to do adult stuff with them,
Yes, yes, yes,
hang out and fun. And they probably don't remember nearly that stuff in the yesterday, so to speak.
yes,
But
yes.
how did you take everything that you've gone through? Like you said, you're going to have so much more empathy for your clients. How do you help them today? Explain a little bit about what your agency does and how do you get to help your clients and take those experiences and even make them more meaningful today?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple different parts to that question. So first I started my business. I saw a huge need in this market where there was nobody helping those that were on a low fixed income. And it because of Medicaid and food stamps and not having computers to look up doctors and just I can keep going on and on. There was a huge need, and I needed to grow my business as fast as I could. And there was really no agents that were helping that market just because you get paid the same, but you have probably 10 times more work to help one customer versus another person. So, but I did. I have a full-time employee now that all she does is Medicaid and food stamps and like hospital financial assistance and things. And there's a lot of women actually that um, uh, were married and were homemakers. They worked inside the
Mhm.
home. And so they didn't pay into Medicare and Social Security. And so their Social Security check is very low, not because they didn't participate, in the work in the family, but it was just that generation just worked from home and a lot of them did. And their what they paid into the system wasn't as much as their husband. And so I help them navigate the system, figure out there's other programs to help them pay for prescriptions and things. So that's one piece of the business. And I've been blessed to have people come to me that wanted me to teach them, and my agents have the same compassion that I do. So we work in the food pantries, and we're in subsidized senior housing, and we're in all kinds of things to help the community. We also help people sign up for Social Security and Medicare and figure out when obviously we work heavily with a financial advisor, but if someone's trying to figure out, how to do it, the application is actually the same application. You just add in Social Security or Medicare or both, whatever it is. So I can do that whole application with a customer and figure out. I'll meet with them if they want a year ahead of time so they know if they're going to retire from a job. What does that look like if they turn 65 and keep working? Can they keep their employer insurance? There's new laws that have come out. And so sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. Sometimes you need to get on Medicare to prevent penalties. And so I help people just navigate that whole process of figuring all that out. And if, of course, they need help with doctors or whatever, we'll send them a list, do three-way calls to help figure out billing, whatever needs to happen. And then another aspect is a marketplace. So folks that are under 65 that don't have an insurance through their employer, or they're rolling off their parents' insurance, or they're in between jobs, we help them find insurance for their family as well. So we do health and life insurance mainly, but most of it is health insurance.
Well, and it sounds like you have more than one location already. So you've really grown quickly. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So we have two offices. Honestly, I work with a lot of Medicare folks, and a lot of them want to meet me actually in their home. But so I'm not in the office every day. I'm out and about a lot of times. But I have an office in Rockford, 118 Cortlandt Street. I share space with Justin Gushaw, who's in the Farm Bureau agency. So we've been here for 5 or 6, 7 years. I can't remember. And
Yeah,
then I
good
have an
landmark though
office.
for people in Rockford.
Yes. And then I have an office on the Beltline just north of the Woodland Mall or south of Burton there, on the fourth floor. So I have two places where we can meet, or I can meet at their home. I'm very flexible, but I needed two spaces, folks for, Grand Rapids and South, and those folks that were north of Grand Rapids.
So a landmark in the East Beltline area, I think it's the Hooper building you're close to.
Yeah, yeah. That really
Or
big Wells
or
Fargo building.
or Big E's, right?
Yes, yes, I'm right north of that.
There's no relation. I don't know those Hoopers, but I always, kind of like, woo, that's our building. I think it says Hooper Pavlock or something like that. Anyway,
Yes.
well, so how do you balance between, like being so compassionate and having to carry, because really when we're talking about insurance, I would assume that the biggest portion of your clientele are wise and mature, let's say, in their age. And
Yes.
so and maybe not all of them in that age bracket, because you do some other health insurance as well and some life insurance, but how do you, I don't know if whatever. How do you keep
Yes.
those things separate? Because you could carry that weight home. How do you adjust with these stories that you hear on a regular basis?
You just try to meet the customer where they're at and see how you can best improve their life. And every single person is different, whether they have different medications or doctors, or financially they have different needs. So I really just try to give that person, when I walk in the door or they walk in the door, I try to give them 100% of my time and focus. Whatever happened in the past, I leave it at the door and really see how I can help them. I'll look their information up, see if they qualify for programs, if give them all the necessary information to go back to HR and see if their insurance is credible. There's so many laws coming out now. So honestly, it's really affecting everybody, no matter where you are in life or what kind of financial or prescriptions or whatever. There's a lot to understand. And at this point, my services are free to the customer. They don't pay anything for my services. So it really just reach out. You want to reach out to somebody and have somebody as your go-to, because if if I didn't do this full time, I was scared how I was going to pay for my medical bills when I retired. And now that I fully understand the business, I'm not afraid anymore. And it's really not something you want to do by yourself anymore. You can Google and do AI, but I mean, I had a lady who sent me an AI email response, and it was totally false because it wasn't for Michigan. It was for
Oh,
another state, right? And it's constantly changing with a lot of new laws, especially the last year and a half. I mean, uh, big bills and laws that are really affecting this industry. So, anyways, to it's hard sometimes. I mean, I love these people tell me they love me, and I get Christmas cards and I love them back. So it is hard sometimes not to take it home, but
yeah.
um I really uh, I don't feel as stressed, nearly as stressed as I used to in my other jobs. And I feel fulfilled because I'm truly wanting to make their life better in every aspect if I can. So I don't know if
Maybe
that helps.
that's the key because you love what you do and your
I do.
bucket's filled by being able to serve, that it
Yes.
doesn't really feel stressful even when you get
No,
home.
no.
But, we all like to do fun things, hopefully in the evenings or on the weekends a little bit. Do you have something that you would say is just that what you love to do or it's somewhat of a distressor?
I mean, as you know, owning your own business, you're working a lot. I mean, and I have 10 agents and two, almost three employees coming soon. So I mean, there's lots of facets, and then I have my own customers, so there's lots of facets to the business. But I try really hard to, you have to have downtime. My kids, my kids are I love to travel. I do love the outdoors, but I mean, really at this point still, my son is at Michigan, studying aeronautical engineering and
Ooh,
he's in the marching band. So, we try to go to as many games as we can at home to watch him play and uh, whatever we can do. My daughter was in softball in college, so we tried to like make a point to try to be present, for
yeah.
them as much
Cool.
as we can because they'll be on their own and having their own families very soon, and then it's very different. So they're my number one priority for sure. So I try to get those things on the schedule first so I can work around what they need us to do or what they want us to do, since we're empty nesters and we don't get to see them all the time.
Well, go blue. I'm sure there's lots of people that heard the Michigan. And I mean, hey, you get to go to the games. You get to watch your son play, but you also get the game. I mean,
The
that's a,
tailgating, it's fun. It's fun. I grew up in Lansing. So it was really hard. Sometimes I have to wear a green shirt under the blue, but anyways, it's fun. It's a lot of fun
well,
tailgating and
what
doing
does
all
he
that.
play?
He plays the bass five, so the really big bass drum. So
Okay. Oh my
uh,
gosh.
yeah, he loves it.
He's gonna
He's
work out to hold that thing.
Yeah, it'll be good once he's done. Then his back, it won't be as hard on his back actually, but he loves it. I mean, they practice 25 at least hours a week. It's insane. People probably don't realize because they learn a brand new routine every week.
Oh my
And
gosh.
game day they're on for 12 hours. It's not just that time on the TV. So it's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah, that is really dedication for sure. So what did your daughter play? You said she was an athlete in college.
Yeah, she played softball.
Okay.
So
Was that what you played?
I did in college I did track and hockey and then
Okay.
in high school I did softball, but
Okay.
my sister played at Ferris in softball and she just kind of fell in love with the pitching and the softball. So she played at Loyola in Chicago.
Okay.
On their traveling club team. But she did all kinds of things at Loyola, but she's done there and she's applied to law school. She'll go to law school in the fall. So
Oh,
um,
wow.
I have her, she's an agent. She's helping some of my agents, working for some of my agents. And then she has two other jobs, but
Oh
it's
my
kind of
gosh.
nice to have her home for a year.
It sounds like your kids definitely took on your hardworking entrepreneurial spirit there. Holy cow.
All you can do is try to instill hard work in them, and be a good role model and do the best you can. I know there was times when I was working too much and I missed events and stuff and you just do what you can to support the family and
Yep.
provide.
So I gave a shout out to U of M, right? You went to state, so go Sparties. Now I do not know Loyola's mascot. Do you?
Um, oh my gosh. Oh, I'm gonna be in trouble. Just a minute.
It'll come to you. It'll come to you. I'm
It'll
going to
come-
go with Lions, Loyola Lions.
Yeah,
I don't know. I
I'm
have
gonna
no
be in
idea.
trouble.
All the Loyola fans out there, we apologize.
Yes.
So you just mentioned like 10 agents, you have two or three employees. I mean, you said that they all work as hard. Well, not, I'm sure they work hard, but you basically said that they have that same
They
empathetic
do. Mhm.
spirit and what have you. How do you what is the most rewarding thing about leadership? Or, what is the toughest thing about when you're hiring and keeping this culture and making sure that they're serving the way you want them to? what are the pros and cons? How do you do that so well?
So obviously employees and agents is totally separate because the agents, I mean, they're independent. So I run when they want to run. So I have some that work part-time and I don't work with them as much as I have people that work full-time. So and it's fine. It's totally up to them how much or little they want to work, how much they want to grow or whatever.
Yep.
But I would say there's 10 pantries, roughly 10 pantries in Kent County, and we're in almost all of them. And we're probably do 10 bingos a month and go to like 15 senior places. So between all of us, we're probably 30 places at least a month and senior neighbors. It's challenge the agent part is challenging because I have to remember they're not me and they have their own goals. So every year I figure out what their goals are so I can help them attain their goals. And it's their personal goals, right? Personal professional goals. And so um I can't want it more than them. And I had to learn that's hard. I mean, I can't
That
want
is hard.
it is. I can't want it more than them. So if they have to tell me what they want, and then I can help them achieve that, and they don't have to go through reinventing the wheel. You know, I've tried different things, spent lots of money here and there trying to grow the business. So I know what works and what doesn't. And I know how to help them, but it's also hard when some people don't like to ask for help. And so if I don't hear from somebody in a couple weeks, then I know I need to reach out to them just to make sure they're okay. And everybody communicates and learns differently. And so you just have to learn each person's personality and try to meet them where they are and help them grow their business. And as far as employees, um, it's hard because it's your business. And then we're working with a lot of seniors, and you have to be patient because some have are unhappy all the time, or some, or it's a very high stress situation and they're really upset. And it's maybe just a simple like word a document that's not filled out, or that something didn't the doctor didn't send something in or whatever, but they don't know how to solve the problem. And so I have some great employees that really just you do three-way calls and you figure it out, and you have to keep your voice low and just be level key and help them to fix the problem. Um, and so to find that kind of person that is very compassionate and patient and can handle difficult situations when there's nothing they did wrong. It's
Yeah.
just something's missing, right, in the process. And we have to figure out where it's broken in the process and help that customer. And then behind the scenes, they help me dramatically because I couldn't do what I do anymore. Once I got to about 500 customers, I had to get help, and I couldn't do everything anymore. And so thank God for them, really. I couldn't do what I do without them because there's things that I had to delegate. And that's a hard part to learn too, is what to delegate and what to do yourself and what to let go, and making like job aids or tools so that when a new person comes on board, you can ramp them up fairly
Yeah.
quickly. So
Yeah, I would think so. So, I mean, thinking back to what you had said about your bachelor's and then your master's and all of the other jobs you had, I would think that all of that training, even though you didn't know it was training, it all kind of brings you forward to today to be able to navigate everything you said. I mean, you were like throwing psychology out, I think, because you're like, you have to learn their strengths and their weaknesses, and you have to balance that and kind of, and people communicate in different ways. And I mean, I'm like, wow, you're having to just do the normal business owner thing, but then you're also really trying to help your agents be what they want or to grow their businesses, their own
mhm,
individual businesses, and
mhm.
you're looking in the inside, and that's a lot to tackle and still maintain your own clients. So I definitely see you leaning in on some really good employees, but I mean that's a lot of juggling, a lot of balls in the air, so to speak.
Yeah, I I love what I do. I really do. I mean, I miss my old life. I miss my old career, and maybe someday I'll consult because I really do love I used to turn businesses around. Like I'd go in and fix them. And I do enjoy that.
Oh,
Or I've
that's cool.
done this last year, I've done a seminar for 10 small businesses to go through the whole process of looking at their whole business, financials, goals, leadership, metrics, marketing. And so it was fun to see these 10 companies from the beginning of the last year to the end. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for the next year. So that was rewarding, using my skills
Yeah.
from my last life to really benefit other people. But I think I really am able to do that with my agents now because I can teach them goal setting and tracking metrics and just all the different things that I learned along the way. So it's definitely helped.
So with all of that, I hear a lot of yes. Are you able to say no, or do you ever have to say no? I mean, there's only so much time in the day. How do you navigate the no space?
It's very hard. I enjoy saying yes. It's very hard. So I have to pick and choose at this point what I spend my time because I only have so many hours in a day. And again, that's why I am hiring another person just so that
Okay.
um I can get rid of some things that are not customer facing that I don't really need to be doing. Um, and I've worked really hard on social media this year. And so luckily, my presence out there is very high now. So I'm able to help my agents grow their business when referrals come. If I get a personal referral, from a
Yeah.
family or something, then I take that
Okay.
person. But if it's just somebody I've never met, then my agents are able to grow naturally based on what we've done.
Sure.
So it's hard, but um, my time's valuable and my body's actually forcing me to say no more and more because I just it
Yeah.
I have to. So
Yeah. Well, so for women listening who feel called to build something of their own, but of course worrying whether or not they know enough, I mean, what would you tell them from where you sit today?
So when you're applying for a job, historically or psychologically, men, if they meet 50% of the qualifications, they're going to apply. And women, we need to meet 90 or 95 before we think we're qualified for that job. Most jobs, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to have drive and you have to be self-driven and willing to learn. If you're self-driven and willing to learn, you can. I mean, I can't tell you can do it, but you could more than likely you can do it. If you're not self-driven, then entrepreneurship is not for you. If you need somebody to kind of lay out what you want to do, and if you only want to work 9 to 5 and you're okay with someone telling you when you can go on vacation and those kind of things, then maybe some working for somebody else is perfect. Um, I will say that entrepreneur is hard. However, it's so rewarding once you get it going. And the balance the first 2 years is rough because the first 2 years of any business, when you're starting it, you're going to be working hard to get it going so that, it continues. But after that, you can kind of set back and have days where you want to take a day and have a date day with your kid or go on a 3-day weekend and you don't have to ask a boss. You just make your schedule. And so um, I would say most of us women, like I said, you don't think you're qualified unless you meet almost every single criteria on the job posting. And with men, it's 50%. So I would say go for it. If it's something that you feel passionate about and you have the self-drive and you have support somewhere, make sure you also have 6 months of bills that you can pay. So put a little nest egg aside,
Yeah.
and you don't want to go into your retirement or anything. You want to have a little nest egg so you can,
Right.
right? So you can go and work really hard because the first you might not take a paycheck for 6 months. I mean, whenever you start your business, once that you get it going, like I said, it's amazing. And I'm so glad I jumped. I'm so glad. I can't imagine life without doing this now. But it is going to be difficult, but you can do it.
I think you said a key word there, jump. I mean, because that's really what it feels like, right? I mean, you're you're like getting ready to just let it all go to gain something huge though, but it does feel like a big jump because like you said, you might not have an income for a period of time. You are working for yourself and there's no vacation for a period of time. But in
Yes.
the
Yeah.
end, right, passion is the key. I think passion is the key. And maybe even having somebody in your corner that just continuously pushes you a little bit. Maybe the cheerleader, but also the pusher, the
Yeah.
cheerleader. You
So
really
you
need,
read my mind. So you want to have a mentor or coach. So a lot of it's in your head. And so when times are tough or you have a bad day or whatever, you just need somebody to just like you said, motivate you or make sure you realize that long-term goal. And today is just a day, right? It's today. And maybe today wasn't good or this week wasn't good, but next week's going to be good. And so you need that coach and mentor. And also just to get a lot of times we get stuck working in the business and we don't work on our business. So, how can we improve, make things more efficient? And what are our metrics? And how do we need to hit our goals every year? Just the different things of running a business. A lot of times you want to have a coach or a mentor that's been there because you don't want to get a mentor that hasn't experienced or doesn't know how to get you where you want to be. So,
yeah. Well, and again, I think that was probably something that just felt really profound right there. And it's a reminder for all of us, but sometimes we get stuck in the business when we
mhm,
need to really work on the business. And
mhm,
that's key. I mean, that's where you get business growth. And that sometimes is the difference between those leadership skills and because you have to step out of what you love every day, what you're doing in order to just pull you've got to think about marketing and you've got to think about your employees and how are you helping them with a lot of these things that you have said. I mean, it's just even the mundane IT and paying the bills, those things can just
yeah.
weigh you down sometimes, but there's also these creative outlets and there's other people that you have to think about. So that is the key to a successful business and to continuously have growth. So I love that you said that. Well, we're going to kind of move forward a little bit to the lightning round, but before we do, I just want to make sure that if you're enjoying this conversation, to all my listeners out there, please take a moment to like and share and make sure that we are getting the information out for others to listen because I love sharing the stories of these women. I'd like to think of it sometimes as the biographies because we all have a story to tell, and I love to be able to share that. So, as we move into the lightning round, I'm going to go right to this one because we just touched on it. Do you have a mentor or somebody, maybe somebody that's not even available to you personally, but somebody that you look up to in the way that they've done something? Is there somebody that keeps you focused, an author or a
I
musician?
do. I do have several authors, and I do listen to a lot of books or podcasts while I'm driving because I'm in the car a lot.
Okay.
And to keep my head in the right space.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of girlfriends that own businesses, and so
Okay.
that's been great because we can go to have coffee and talk, and we may not be in the same industry, but we're dealing with the same things. So
Sure.
having those like-minded women that are also running their own businesses has been really, that's probably the biggest key. Um, because I think I've grown a business differently than most agencies. And so I didn't really have somebody that was had trailblazed before. In my other career, I did, but in this one, as far as like the figuring out the low income sub, all that, just the whole marketing and where to spend money and all that. I didn't really have somebody, but luckily I had so much background and knowledge. But now I just have girlfriends that own their own businesses. And like I said, I listen to lots of books. So hopefully that helps.
Well, what's the podcast that maybe you like to listen to?
I'm going to have to message you. I have
Oh,
different
okay.
all the time in my phone. So
That's okay. How about is one thing you do to reset when life feels heavy?
I walk. I love music. I'll know that I need to go get away and go to a concert or I'll go walk at Pickler Lake or find somewhere where I can walk for a mile. A lot of nights when the weather's nice, I make sure I go for a walk. I'll get my earbuds in or whatever,
Yep.
listen to something, whether it's music or a book, and just walk for a mile. I I really need to do that a lot, just to for my health, but
Sure.
just to de-stress. Um, I uh my husband, I mean, I have a couple phone games that I play on the phone that
Yeah.
just they don't have to think. It's just kind
Right.
of like
That's
my
you got to
like
give your brain a break.
right. Or playing with the dogs or watching something on Netflix with my husband. Love hanging out with my kids. So any of those things, I do need a break because I do work a lot. So
What's your favorite music genre?
ooh, that's hard. I mean, I love rock and roll. I grew up, I mean,
Are you an
um,
80s child?
yes,
Works
80s
for
and
me.
90s. Yes. So, I love rock and roll. I love country. Um, uh, I don't like not like about any kind of music, but if I'm going to a concert, I mean, I feel old now because I'm going to old like rock and roll or country or whatever it is, like contemporary or pop. I love like
Yeah,
Pitbull is fun. I'll get up
yeah,
and dance the whole time. So, well, as much as I can. So, yeah, those kind of things are a lot of fun.
they are fun. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Um,
Or a
that's
quote? Maybe sometimes it falls into a quote that somebody else said that we can all live by, but
I think I think as women we can get very take things personally
yeah,
when things happen, and we have to step away from all that emotion and look at a situation like strategically or um, look at it, step back from the emotion. So I think as women, we really need to say, a lot of times in our head, oh, they didn't like me, or, I did that bad, or I have to say I'm sorry all the time, or whatever. No, I mean, we just have to step back and say, okay, what happened? Let's learn from it and keep moving. Because a lot of people get frozen and they stop because they're just so emotional in their head and they're putting themselves down. When guys don't do that, they just keep chugging along and they're like, oh, okay, next, right? And but we don't do that. So I think that's really key.
I think that is, I agree with you on that. I think we assume too much, and it's not ever what we went down this whole different path, and it was never even that. We assumed something incorrectly. So
Yes.
I love that you said that. Okay, so what is on your nightstand?
My clock, this fun. Um, I'm always warm, so I have like this little air conditioning a mattress pad that keeps me cool all night. A
Okay,
couple books.
okay,
So that's about it.
okay. And do you prefer mornings or night?
Night. I get up really early, but I don't enjoy it, and my body's as I'm getting older, it's waking up earlier and earlier. But I've lived on an alarm clock most of my life, so
I work on a snooze most of my life.
yeah.
I love nights, but mornings don't come easy.
No, me neither.
Okay, last one. What's one word your team would use to describe you?
Um, I really care. Um, I really want to see what's the best for them or my customers. And so, a lady, I was at a pantry last week and I was helping two older ladies. And the lady at the front desk stopped me after they left and said, um, she didn't see somebody like me because she could just visibly see I really care. And so, um, whoever it is, they're my focus, and I really try to help them, whether it's my agents or my customers, improve their life. If I can change, it's been fun watching my agents change their family's dynamic. It's so rewarding. It's their income and their business, but it's rewarding to me to see them change. And for a customer, I truly want to help. I want to help make their life better. So,
That would be awesome. I'm sure. I know I would describe you that way.
oh, thank you.
Well, before we wrap up, I just want to share one thing that Tressa said today that really stayed with me. And I'm going to go way back because I've said a couple of things already, but I'm going to go way back to the first one that I had written down. And it's that you can't want it more than others. And that is so true. And I think that's something that we always have to remember too when we're leading. We think people are going to be just like us or want to work as hard as us or be as passionate or do things our way. And I think that's a great reminder that you had said to us is we can't want it more than others. And maybe even that's a good parenting
Mhm.
phrase too that we have to remind ourselves, no matter the age of our kids, if sometimes we try to lead our kids down a certain direction, but we can't do it for them. We can't want it more than they do, right? So thank you for sharing that today. And Teresa, thank you for being today. You shared your story and today you shared it beautifully. I love that.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Sherry.
And to our listeners, thank you for spending time with us and for supporting the women and the stories that they share here on this podcast. And please look for my upcoming episode called Golden Nuggets. I'm really happy to be able to share that, where I can come back and recap several of the different podcasts that I've done. So I'm calling that the Golden Nuggets. And then always remember, she came, she spoke, and she inspired. And we'll see.
Oh, thank you.